So a few days ago, there were several reports out there on the interwebs about signing day being moved up earlier in December. So of course, as an award-winning recruiting reporter over on Dawg Post, like you all already know, my phone was blowing up when that news came out, right, of an earlier signing day. I got texts, I got phone calls from sources, buddies, Dawg Post members saying, Matt, what does this do for Georgia? Why are they moving it up? Is this the right thing to do? Does it make things better for the coaches? Does it make things easier for Georgia? Can they take advantage of it? Does it help Georgia on the recruiting trail, right? And my simple answer, after thinking about it a little bit, taking it in, selfishly, I know that my job just got a lot harder because the new signing day period will begin the Wednesday before the conference championship games and ahead of the opening of the winter transfer portal, which starts the Monday after the college football playoff field is announced. So kids are having to sign right before the transfer portal window opens, but I know that I'm going to be covering several SEC championships with Georgia playing in the game. I mean, that's just a fact. That's where Georgia is. And now I've got to cover recruiting because 3 days before the SEC championship game, I've got to cover signing day. But it's not that big of a deal because Georgia's class for several years, especially last year, it was already ready to go by the time December rolls around. These kids commit early. They figure out where they want to go, most of them before their senior season starts. So as far as what it means, what's the effect, does it help? I don't think there's going to be a whole lot different going on. I think the days of crazy first Wednesday in February signing days from years and years ago, it's over. There's less and less drama going on, even with NIL changing and numbers going all over the place the morning of signing day or the morning at kids supposed to announce, right? There's still a lot of craziness that goes on behind the scenes. But other than KJ Bolden, who signed on signing day, Georgia already knew what their class was. So moving it up just 2 weeks early is not going to make that big of an impact. KJ Bolden would have made his decision on December 4th instead of December 18th or whatever it was this past year, right? So 2 weeks is not going to make a big deal. I think it's not going to make or break anyone. I just think the kids who want to wait on signing day just have to make their decision 2 weeks earlier. But with Kirby Smart and his staff, they want their guys committed early on, get their class schedule ready because he wants them, most of them, as many as possible, to be on campus, to enroll early. They want to get there in the spring so they have extra spring practice before summer, fall camp runs around, and boom, they're playing their freshman year. So I don't think it's going to matter a whole lot. But I think it helps the experienced staff, guys like Kirby Smart and Glenn Schumann. And if you have a staff full of ace recruiters, maybe this helps out a little bit compared to staffs that are, still having a hard time on the recruiting trail and can't get these guys to commit early on and, stop taking visits, last minute visits and all that stuff. So recruiting, Georgia fans think it's very easy, I think, for staffs to go out and recruit and bring in top players because they've seen Kirby Smart and his staff do it year after year after year. If they're not signing the number 1 class, they're signing the number 2 class, 3 class, whatever. But I don't think there will be as much drama going on moving it forward because a lot of these kids they're already committed. They already know where they're going to go, whether it's December 4th or December 18th. But just to share some signing day stories, man, I remember, even when they first moved it from February to, an early signing day period right before Christmas, I know a lot of families were okay with that because they wanted to get the process over with. It's before Christmas, so they don't have to deal with the stress and the drama related to recruiting during the Christmas holidays and into New Year's, right? They get it done. They got a few days. They celebrate Christmas, New Year's, do all that with their family. Already signed, right? I drove to Memphis when I knew that Nakobe Dean was very likely going to pick Georgia over Ole Miss and LSU and Alabama. But I miss going to those crazy signing day events. I mean, when Quay Walker took the Tennessee hat on, threw it across the Crisp County gym, it broke, the recruiting world. That was the biggest story that happened that day. We were there. I also went to go see Otis Reese that day. I remember the Roquan Smith recruitment at the very end. He chooses UCLA, he puts the hat on in front of ESPN, right in front of the country, never signs. The UCLA coach goes on to get the job at the Falcons. Like an hour later, Roquan never signs. He just shows up to Athens. So I love recruiting. I love the craziness that comes with it. And now you've got, money that can be handed out legally, basically through NIL, even though that's not the way it should be used. They've got to figure all that out. I know a lot of college coaches are very unhappy with how NIL is right now because all these kids they're recruiting, and I know this for a fact, the first question is not what can you do for me to make me a better player, not, how long do I have to sit on the bench before I play? It's how much can you pay me? If I go to your school, how much money am I going to get? Unfortunately, that's just the way it is without rules or guidelines, but that stuff's still going to happen. But as far as signing day, I do think that Georgia's going to sign an elite class every single year. As long as Kirby's there, moving it up 2 weeks is not the end of the world. But I do think in their mind, they would like to get that over with. But November looks like just got hectic, a lot more hectic than it already is. So that area between November and through the first week of December, it's going to be crazy. And it's tough because that's kind of the end of the regular season. It already feels like a long season at that point, from August all the way through November. Now you got conference championship games. Now you have to talk about signing day and wrap the class up. So, I think Kirby Smart and his staff are not looking forward to those 2 weeks, those 3 weeks, that little area. But when it's done and they can focus on the playoff game, if they're in the playoffs or in all these programs, wherever they're playing, whether it's a random bowl or if they make the 12-team playoff, once those conference championship games end, boom, your class is signed and you don't have to worry about recruiting all the way for another 2 weeks or so, right? It's done. And then you can focus on the transfer portal, which opens up immediately. College coaches are leaving and this and that. It's all going to be crazy because you could still sign a class on, December 4th, and coaches can leave right after that. We see coaches can leave whenever they want and just hang those kids up to dry, out to dry. But it is, what it is. People get mad at these kids for transferring or flipping as a recruit, but the coaches can do whatever they want. So they're not the same rules for everyone. But of course, my phone started blowing up. I'm okay with it, even though, again, selfishly, it's more work for me during that November, early December period. But if you're a fan, there's a lot of action. There's a lot coming together. You've got the regular season ending. Boom, Georgia beats Georgia Tech. They start focusing on the conference championship game, and a few days later, right in the middle of the week, there's signing day, and there's all this stuff going down and lots to talk about. You play the conference championship game, and boom, you start, talking about the transfer portal. Kirby's got to talk his kids into staying, accept some leaving, go reach out for more transfers coming in, all while, trying to scheme and get his team ready for the college football playoff game, which I assume is going to happen year after year after year. There's no excuse why Georgia does not end up in the college football playoff every year for the foreseeable future. And I made a video on that earlier. But as far as moving the signing day up even earlier, the early signing day, I guess you can still sign in, February if that's still a thing. That was awesome. That February signing period was the best, just for me as someone covering the event. But you can't have that anymore because so many guys are enrolling early and so many guys are on campus in December and working out with the team before Christmas, right? So it had to go from February to December, and now they're moving up even more. So it makes for a crazy couple weeks there, but I do think it's easier for the staff now that, they can focus solely on recruiting and then the transfer portal and not those going on at the same time throughout, the first 2.5 weeks of December when you're trying to prepare for a game. You've got transfer portal stuff going on, and you still have to fill your class out. But it's not going to matter as much to Georgia and that staff because, again, their guys are already committed by then. There might be one or two, maybe three at the most, guys who make their decision on signing day. But they can just make that on the 4th now. So it's not going to hurt the Georgia staff or anything like that. If anything, it will help because they have experience on the recruiting trail. They know what to do, and they know how to get their guys to shut it down and commit in the summer and visit Athens several times in the fall. And it's just been there's less stress every year for these Georgia coaches. And it looks like things will get a little easier now that it's moved up to that first Wednesday in December now. So I don't know if this is locked in. These are full plans. But I think this is where things are trending. And at the end of the day, I do expect that to happen at some point where it's official. Boom, early signing day is December 4th. Then the transfer portal, yada, yada, yada. But it is a big deal. It's a big news. And I do think the Georgia staff will take advantage of it as much as they can. Thanks for watching this video. Really appreciate it. Sign up to our free newsletter on Dawg Post. That link is down below. It's free to sign up. We got free stories. So hope you enjoyed these videos, but I hope to see you over on the website.